Elon Musk opens up emocionalmente y sorpresa Black Millionaire en secreto meeting. The lights were low, the beer was flowing, and somewhere in the heart of New York City, something rare was happening. Jonathan Reed, the tech world's untouchable king, sat across from Marcus Taylor, an influential African-American millionaire known for breaking barriers and breaking deals. The energy in the upscale restaurant was thick with whispered rumors, the kind that never make the front page but leave everyone speechless anyway. Jonathan wasn't the usual public figure you imagined. Beneath his tailored suit and polished smile, his eyes carried a deep loneliness, a crack in his perfect armor few ever glimpsed. Marcus, with his sharp mind and cautious smile, knew the weight of doors slammed shut before they even opened. Two titans brought together by chance, by curiosity, maybe even by fate. Their conversation began gently. Talk of stocks and startups, exotic travel destinations. Jonathan's hand trembled. He dropped a bomb, the secret he thought buried deep, about a scandalous chapter in his past. Whispers seemed to freeze mid-air as the story unfolded. Betrayal, loss, and a hidden brother no one knew about. Marcus leaned in, eyes dark with shock and something raw. Sympathy, maybe. For Marcus, this wasn't just gossip. It echoed his own battles with prejudice, the closed doors, the veiled threats beneath smiles in boardrooms. His past had scars, carved by the color of his skin and the ruthless hunger of ambition. Their stories, different but similar, wrapped around the room like tension, a rope fraying under pressure. Just as they began building a fragile bridge, two scattered souls finding a strange kind of kinship, another truth slipped out. Marcus's history, buried and harsher than anyone guessed, unraveled with a sudden jolt. It was a truth that could shatter the trust swelling between them. A secret with power strong enough to topple empires. And then, just as the first crack seemed to widen, Jonathan's phone rang, an unforgiving, loud ring slicing through the tension like a knife. Both men froze, breathing caught, eyes locked on the screen. The caller ID flashed a name neither expected, a name that could rewrite everything. Jonathan's hand hovered over the phone. What call pushes a man to the edge? What choice hides in that ring? The night held its breath. Their story, just beginning, teetered on the edge of ruin or redemption. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like that really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Jonathan's hand hovered over the phone, the screen illuminating their faces with an eerie glow. For a moment, the world outside faded away, leaving only the two millionaires caught in this unforeseen moment. The name on the screen struck like a thunderbolt. Emily Reyes, a name that sent ripples of confusion and dread through the air. Marcus's brow furrowed as he leaned closer. "Who is that?" he managed, the usual smoothness of his voice now tinged with nervous urgency. Jonathan's eyes widened, a raw vulnerability surfacing. She's my former assistant," he stammered, the words clumsy on his tongue. "But it's more than that. She disappeared a year ago." The air thickened with tension. The missing person case had sent spirals through Jonathan's world, turning colleagues into whisters and friendships into judgments. "I thought I had lost her," he added, his voice trembling. "Now I'm starting to think." Suddenly, the phone's ringing ended, replaced by a hushed silence. Jonathan's memory flickered with images of Emily. The laughter, the late nights at the office, the way her eyes sparkled when she talked about dreams they laughed about together. Did he hold guilt? Had he missed something? Then, vibrating in the emptiness, an unexpected sound rippled through the room. Another message. This time vibrating through his pocket like a ticking bomb. The waiter awkwardly paused, sensing the tension, and both men shifted uncomfortably. "I need to see what this is," Jonathan murmured, reluctantly backing away from the intimate moment they'd begun to share. In his haste, he had missed Marcus's expression. The older man's gaze shifted. "Bon! Wait, this could change everything," Marcus said, voice low, drawing a line in the sand. There was an unspoken threat in his tone, a warning that made Jonathan gulp. But curiosity pulled Jonathan, and as he opened the message, his heart dropped. It was from Emily. The screen showed a picture, blurry, distorted, but unmistakable. It was her, bound and terrified. The caption read, "You took everything from me. This is just the beginning." Jonathan froze, the world behind him spiraling into nothingness. The restaurant buzzed softly, unaware of the devastation unfolding at their table. Marcus felt the tremor in the air, the crack of something heavy breaking. His eyes now gleamed with something unrecognizable, a shadow veiling the kindness they had begun to forge. "Jonathan, what are you hiding?" Marcus's voice was sharp, cutting through the fog of Jonathan's shock. But the truth hit harder than any accusation. "I didn't take anything," Jonathan whispered, his heart racing. The emotions raged within him. Fear, betrayal, confusion. "I don't know what she means." "Then tell me," Marcus pressed, leaning in, knives out, their evening of camaraderie dissolving. "Who is this really about?" As the waiter returned, the ambiance shifted. Gasps arose from the nearby table. Someone had overheard. Confusion erupted, the atmosphere heavy with hushed whispers. "Is it true?" a voice questioned in the crowd. The term kidnap swirled around, each syllable a dagger aimed at Jonathan's reputation, his life. Jonathan's world spun anew. The darkness of secrets, hidden beneath glittering surfaces, unfurled before him. Marcus's expression betrayed a mix of pity and shrewdness, emotions no longer blending together. Trust teetered on the edge, and in that moment, it felt as if the foundation beneath them cracked open. The phone fell from Jonathan's grasp, clattering against the polished surface like a shattering crystal. "I need to go," he breathed, panic igniting him. But as he stood, ready to escape the crushing weight of a brand new reality, Marcus's voice sliced through the chaos. Not yet. We have to talk. There's something I haven't told you either. Jonathan froze, the night holding its breath once more. Whatever lay ahead felt darker, more tangled. The mystery tightened around them, casting long shadows over everything they thought they knew. The phone rang. Jonathan's heart raced, fingertips trembling above the screen. Marcus's gaze turned sharp. The shadows of the restaurant closing in, heavy and thick like thick smoke. Eyes locked on the name blinking at Jonathan, a name that glimmered like a warning. His breath caught. No, it can't be, he whispered, half to himself, half to Marcus. The sound of the call was almost deafening, a relentless echo in the charged silence. Who is it? Marcus's voice, low and steady, cooled Jonathan back to the moment, yet hung with palpable tension. He swallowed hard, throat registering the lump. It's my brother. The weight of his words pressed down on the table, fragile and potent. Marcus's expression shifted, surprise carving deep lines across his face. I thought you said he was gone. Jonathan ran a shaky hand through his hair, eyes darting, caught between the past and the present. I thought so too, until now, the sudden twist, a brother he thought lost, a tie severed, opened a wound that had barely healed. Memories flashed, laughter, fights, a face that once felt like home. Pain clawed deep, and his heart surged with confusion. He thought he'd buried that chapter, thought he was free. Answer it, Marcus urged, leaning closer, his breath warm and urgent. Jonathan hesitated, fear gripping him tight. What if this call shattered the fragile bond they had begun to build? What if the truth lay wrapped within secrets dark and heavy? What if everything he believed about himself was a lie? But then an explosion of doubt crashed through him. A brother returned to life meant questions, accusations, probably even danger. The very fabric of his world felt like it was unraveling. What if it's not what I think? Could be a chance to find out, Marcus said, eyes steady, filled with understanding. Gritting his teeth, he finally tapped the screen. Hello? The word fell like a stone into deep water. Jonathan, a voice spoke, smooth and chilling. I found you. A jolt of unease coursed through him, twisting the wild weeds of uncertainty into a tempest. Who is this? His grip on the phone tightened. Anxiety, like a vice. Someone who knows everything about you, your family, and your secrets. The revelation hung in the air, a clanging bell. Jonathan felt the walls close in, the weight of 1,000 unspoken questions pressing on his mind. He glanced at Marcus, whose expression had shifted from curiosity to disbelief, fear flaring in his dark eyes. Tell me what you know, Jonathan demanded, voice breaking. You want to meet? We can't have secrets between brothers, can we? And just like that, a chill settled between them, a veil that twisted tension into something sinister. An echo of a past he thought sealed. The room pulsed with the rhythm of their quickened breaths, every second stretching into eternity. Jonathan's heart hammered, a conflict raging. Would he uncover a past long buried, or would he unearth darkness that could swallow him whole? Marcus's fingers tapped the table, a nervous energy thrumming through him. What happens now? The question hung in the air like smoke, thick and suffocating. Jonathan felt crushed under the weight of choices, his mind racing with possibilities. I don't know. With that, reality swayed, the night teetering on the brink of something catastrophic. A secret waiting to be unleashed, and it held the power to change everything. The tension mounted, silence draping the table like a heavy blanket, as both men stared into a dark abyss of uncertainty. What lay ahead? Hope? Ruin? Redemption cloaked in shadows? As Jonathan's phone buzzed again, the world blurred, the night still as a grave. Jonathan's phone buzzed again, that relentless sound, echoing as if the universe was mocking his turmoil. The momentary silence had been heavy as a lead blanket, but now it was electrified with urgency. He swiped the screen, the brightness cutting through the dark, and stared, shocked into silence. The name, Dad. His breath caught. Dad? His voice trembled, suffocated by disbelief. Memories flooded his mind, yelling, darkness, a family torn apart. You cannot be real. But there it was, a call from the man who had vanished from his life like a ghost. The restaurant around him blurred, the sounds of chatter fading into an indistinct hum as he processed the name. Jonathan. The voice came through, ragged and worn, sending a chill spiraling down his spine. You have to listen to me. Marcus's brows knitted together, confusion shadowing his face. The camaraderie they once shared hung in the balance, teetering on something monumental. Why? Why now? Jonathan's voice cracked, emotions wetting the edges. After all this time, things aren't what they seem, his father replied, urgency threading through his tone. Listen, you need to know the truth about Emily and your brother. Emily? Panic shot through him. What do you know about her? Everything, his father replied, breathless. They're connected. All of it is. Sudden gasps rippled through the nearby tables. Strangers leaned in, ears perked, the energy in the room shifting like a storm approaching. Jonathan, Marcus whispered harshly. Leaning closer, voice urgent. What is he saying? I don't know, Jonathan stammered, heart pounding, a lump in his throat. Something about Emily. It doesn't make any sense. The words hung like thick smoke, stifling. And then, like a scream in the silence, Jonathan's phone lit up again. Another message, this one from Emily herself. Jonathan, you need to wake up. They're coming for you. Your father is in danger. No. The words slipped out, a whisper of disbelief and dread that felt like a punch to the gut. The restaurant swirled, shadows dancing in chaos. How could this be happening? Tell me about the brother, Marcus pressed, eyes flashing with something sharp. If you have more family, if he's still, suddenly, the lights flickered and everything shifted, like the world had tilted on its axis. A loud crash echoed from the entrance, a glass door shattering, followed by panicked gasps. In came figures cloaked in darkness, faces hidden beneath hoods, each movement calculated and eerie. The air turned dense, a palpable tension settling in. They stared straight at Jonathan. "Run!" Marcus shouted, his voice slicing through the haze of confusion. But it was too late. The figures closed in, and in the chaos, Jonathan felt a jab of pain against his stomach. He looked down, stunned to see a glimmer of silver before a blinding light engulfed him. Time froze. He could hear his heart pounding, the gasps of the crowd fading into eerie echoes. It all crashed down. The trust, the connection, the fragile bond they'd begun to build. What was happening? As darkness engulfed him, a single thought blared like an alarm. What was the truth behind his family? And why now? Marcus reached for him, but shadows tightened around Jonathan, pulling him away, thrusting him into an abyss. No answers, no secrets revealed, just that cold grip of fate pulling him deeper into doubt. It all spiraled out of control. What lay on the other side of this darkness? And would he emerge with answers? Or the ultimate betrayal? Jonathan's hand hesitated over the phone, the ringing echoing in the dim restaurant. Marcus's expression shifted, a mix of curiosity and dread passing over his face. The moment felt heavy as both men stared, waiting, wondering. Finally, Jonathan swiped the screen, answering with a tight voice. "Hello?" His gaze never left Marcus, whose eyes widened slightly, picking up on the tension. Then, Jonathan's face drained of color. Words tumbled from his lips, slow, shaky, and the deeper he went, the faster Marcus's heart raced. "I can't believe it! No! She's gone?" The words seemed to hang in the air, a sudden storm crashing through the serene atmosphere they had just begun to cultivate. Jonathan's expression twisted with confusion, anguish, and disbelief. Marcus could only watch, every instinct urging him to reach out, to comfort this man whose vulnerabilities had just been laid bare. Yet he remained frozen, caught between his own rising anxiety and the devastating news unfolding in front of him. As Jonathan continued to listen, the conversation shifted, his face contorted into a mask of guilt. "I should have been there. I should have known." His voice cracked, betraying a raw edge of grief. Marcus felt the sudden weight of expectations. Jonathan was supposed to be untouchable, the king of tech who thrived on success. Yet here he was, unraveling like a fragile thread. An emotion stirred deep within Marcus, a mix of compassion and confusion. But then, just as Jonathan lifted a hand to cover his mouth, a gesture of vulnerability uncharacteristic of the titan he was, another figure appeared. A man burst into the restaurant, face taut with urgency. He scanned the room before locking eyes on Jonathan, and in that instant, the air shifted again, crackling with tension. "Jonathan," the man panted, sweat glistening on his brow, "you need to come with me, now!" "What? Why?" Jonathan's voice rose higher, panic flaring in his chest. "I'm in the middle of something!" "Your father. There's a situation. A serious one." The man's tone was grave, the urgency palpable. A silence fell. Marcus leaned back, his heart pounding. The pieces suddenly clicked together, casting shadows on the earlier connection they had begun to build. "What is it?" Jonathan asked fiercely, eyes narrowing in apprehension. The man glanced at Marcus, hesitation shadowing his expression. "It's about the family business and about your brother." The word brother hung like a storm cloud above them. A brother? The secret Jonathan just revealed moments ago twisted deeper, coiling around the truth they had only started to confront. Marcus's mind raced. Did Jonathan have a brother? And if so, why the urgency? What was at stake? I don't have a brother, Jonathan snapped, confusion morphing into anger. I buried that past. My family, not buried enough, the stranger interrupted, his voice cold. He's alive, and he's looking for you. The world tilted. Marcus felt his heart drop as he watched Jonathan's facade slip away, replaced with shock and a dawning fear. The shimmering connection they had just begun to forge now felt perilous, teetering on a knife edge, enough to cut through anything fragile. Marcus opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. Tension crackled as Jonathan stood abruptly, almost toppling his chair. I have to go. The man nodded. Don't ask questions. Just trust me. Jonathan turned to Marcus, vulnerability flashing again like a candle caught in the wind. I'm sorry. I'll be back. And he was gone. An echo of footsteps, leaving Marcus alone with the weight of unspoken words. The tension in the air was thick and heavy. How was this possible? Everything had changed in an instant. Resentment, anger, betrayal, it all roiled within him. The brother, the scandals, everything unraveling. He stared at the table, at the remnants of their conversation, like shattered glass. Silence enveloped him, heavy and suffocating. His phone buzzed suddenly, breaking the still air. Marcus glanced at the screen. A message flashed from an unknown number. I know the truth about your past. Meet me tonight. Marcus's blood ran cold as uncertainty crashed over him. What truth? What past? In that moment, with the restaurant buzzing around him, he realized the night had just begun. But the darkness loomed larger than ever. The night held its breath. Their story, just beginning, teetered on the edge of ruin or redemption. Jonathan's fingers hovered above the phone, uncertainty tightening his chest. The room buzzed quietly, anticipation crackling like static in the air. And then, with a jarring tone, the phone's screen lit up again. This time, it flickered with a familiar name. Sarah. Jonathan's heart raced, blood pounding in his ears. Sarah? His estranged sister? Somehow, the past had clawed its way back in, through the doorway they'd opened tonight. Jonathan, Marcus breathed, his voice barely audible over the din. His gaze darted from the phone to John's face, reading the conflict etched into every feature. You okay? Jonathan swallowed hard. Panic twisted inside him. He thought about the brother he had lost, the one he'd buried under secrets and guilt. The memories surged up. Memories he had tried so hard to forget. He remembered betrayal, the lost years, the fiery moments when their lives split apart. Marcus leaned closer, as if sensing Jonathan's dissent. Take it, man! It might be important! Jonathan's hand trembled violently now. He shot a glance toward the exit, imagining how easy it would be to flee, to run from this moment that felt like a maelstrom. Then again, what if Sarah was reaching out for him? But just as he made up his mind to answer, a crash shattered the restaurant's atmosphere. The front door burst open. A man stumbled in, breathless. Panic etched across his face. The restaurant turned toward him. A ripple of startled expressions, whispers of confusion passing through the crowd. He was soaked, rain soaking his clothes, eyes wide with urgency. Help! Please! Someone needs to call the police! His voice sliced through the air, jagged and fearful. Jonathan and Marcus exchanged alarmed glances. "What's going on?" Marcus asked, his voice barely hiding the edge of fear. "Someone's in trouble outside. A hit and run. Blood everywhere." The man's breath hitched, his hands clenching at his sides. "I saw the car. It sped away." At that moment, the tension in the room shifted. People sprang into action. Gasps filled the air, chairs scraping against floors as patrons moved toward the exit. Jonathan's heart raced again, a different kind of fear taking hold. It felt like a dark cloud rolling over them, pressing down and dimming the light of the moment. But deep down, he felt another pang, another twisted connection. Who was in that accident? Did it matter? He thought of his family, his past spilling into the present, and suddenly he was back in that old dark place, the memories surfacing against his will. What if it was the reason for Sarah's call? Did she know? Marcus's voice broke through his thoughts, urgently pulling him back. "Jonathan, are you with me?" His eyes were wide, filled with the kind of concern that only comes when the stakes rise without warning. Jonathan glanced down at the phone in his hand. Should he answer? Could he handle whatever news was waiting for him on the other end? Before he could decide, the man shouted again. "They said there was a baby in the car!" A collective gasp echoed through the room. Urgency igniting every corner. Murmurs cascaded like rolling thunder, blending into chaos. The waiter, the patrons, everyone was caught in a wave of fear and confusion. Jonathan's breath caught in his throat. Everything he thought he knew shifted again. A wild whirlpool of anxiety and uncertainty. Maybe connections weren't just personal. Maybe lives intertwined in ways they couldn't imagine. The past, the present, shockingly entangled. He felt Marcus grip his arm, the connection grounding him in that storm. "We need to leave," Marcus urged, but Jonathan hesitated, fighting against the pull of the phone. The weight of his life hung on that choice. What would he decide? What awaited them outside? A future uncertain, caught in the balance. The night held its breath. Their story, just beginning, teetered on the edge of ruin or redemption. Jonathan's heart thundered. He didn't want to answer, but the ringing cut through the heavy silence, dragging him back. A choice that could change everything. Marcus leaned closer, eyes narrowed, caught in the tension. What was this call? Encouragement flickered between them, like light peering through dark clouds. Jonathan's hand lingered, and with each second, the energy in the room thickened. Finally, he answered. "Hello?" His voice was shaky, fragile. Then the world shifted. "Jonathan!" The voice on the other end was cold, too familiar, slicing through the warmth of shared vulnerability. "It's time. It's time you and I had that talk." The words dripped with malice. A chilling realization washed over Jonathan. He sat frozen, the blood draining from his face. Marcus's expression shifted, confusion mingling with concern as he could feel the shift. Who was on the line? Who knew him like that? "Tom," Jonathan whispered, his heart in his throat. Memories of betrayal flashed before his eyes. Plans, schemes, and a past full of lies. An old friend turned enemy. Yes, memories of betrayal flashed before his eyes. "It's been a while. I have something that belongs to you." something you left behind, and I'm not willing to keep quiet any longer." The room felt like it was closing in. Marcus's eyes widened, scanning Jonathan's face. How could one call change everything they just shared? Shadows deepened around them. Jonathan's breath caught. "What do you mean? Remember our deal? The one I covered up for you? The one that could ruin you if it came to light?" Memories clawed back in waves. Money laundering, leverage, unspoken promises. Jonathan trembled, a stalagmite of regret solidifying in his gut. He had worked so hard to be Jonathan Reed, the king of tech. The cracks of his downfall were opening wider with every word Tom spoke. The waiter, unnoticed until now, hovered nearby, eyes darting between the two men, sensing the tectonic shift. Marcus leaned in closer, every instinct on high alert. What's going on? But Jonathan could barely focus. The call went on. Tom's voice dripped with poison. "You've made friends in high places, John. They'll fall hard when your mistakes come back to bite. And what about your little brother? A hidden brother the world doesn't know about? The reason I've held on to this secret for as long as I have?" The air crackled. Marcus's eyebrows shot up. "Hidden brother?" "Stop," Jonathan breathed. "You promised." But Tom only laughed, the sound sharp and hollow. "Promises mean nothing anymore. I'll be in touch when I need something else. But this time, the attention is on you. Welcome back to the game." He hung up, leaving Jonathan breathless, the device humming with finality. Silence swallowed the room as Jonathan's hands shook, the weight of revelation crashing down. Sweat beaded on his forehead. The trust built with Marcus crumbled before it ever solidified. "Damn it, Jonathan! What's happening?" Marcus's voice thundered in the tense air. Jonathan's gaze dropped, thoughts racing. Secrets on secrets. Would he pull Marcus into the storm? He was cornered. Tangled in a web he spun himself. I didn't want you to know." Shock rippled through Marcus, each word now a blade cutting through their fragile bond. The truth loomed heavy. This wasn't the night they planned. A sinking feeling enveloped them, deeper than loneliness, darker than betrayal. Was this a beginning or the end? Outside, the city pulsed on, unaware of the lives, shifting like tectonic plates beneath its bright lights. And within the shadows of that restaurant, two giants faced the rubble of their worlds. What next? The question clung in the air, thick as fog, waiting to swirl into chaos. Jonathan's hands shook, the phone still vibrating in his grasp, the weight of Tom's words swirling in his head. He stared at the screen, at the shadows creeping in around him. Marcus stood beside him, eyes wide with shock, confusion etching deeper lines across his face. And then, in the stillness of that charged moment, the restaurant's loud chattering faded away. It felt like someone had muted the world. A warmth of disbelief settled in the pit of Jonathan's stomach, settling like a stone. I didn't want you to know," the words spilled out, raw and broken. "Who is he?" Marcus pressed, and the urgency in his voice pulled Jonathan back, igniting words. "You have to tell me. What did he mean by your brother?" But just as Jonathan opened his mouth to respond, the door to the restaurant burst open again. A woman rushed in, drenched and desperate, hair clinging to her face, eyes wild with terror. Her breath came in ragged gasps. A frantic urgency writ large in her expression. "Help!" she shouted, her voice cracking. "Please! It's about the hit and run! They're coming for you!" The sentence hung in the air like a falling weight. Everyone in the restaurant turned, eyes darting between her and the trailing panic that radiated off her. Jonathan felt his heart lurch. Something coiled in his chest. Fear, dread, maybe even guilt. "What do you mean?" he said, panic rising as the words fell clumsily. "They said they'd come after you next. Someone's got to tell you the truth. It's not what you think." Every instinct in Jonathan screamed to leave, to run, while Marcus's eyes flickered back to him, a kaleidoscope of concern and confusion. "What's happening? Jonathan, we need to figure this out." And then the noise shifted. A deep rumble vibrated through the floor, echoing like distant thunder. The sharp crack of glass shattered the air. Another crash, louder this time. People began to scream, shifting towards the exits. The woman stumbled back, her eyes wide and terrified. Jonathan pressed forward toward her. "What are you talking about? Your father, he's not who you think he is." Her words rushed out in a surge, but just as quickly they dried up, replaced by the sound of frantic footsteps. Someone clad in black flashed through the entrance. Eyes fixed on Jonathan. The air thickened with impending chaos. Jonathan's breath caught as the man's face came into view. It was a face he hadn't seen in years. Tom. The name barely escaped his lips, shock etching lines deep into his forehead. "Get out!" Tom shouted, charging toward them, urgency lifting his voice. "They're coming!" The entire room erupted, voices overlapping, confusion reigning. Waiters dropped trays, customers darted for safety. But Jonathan stood frozen, heart thumping. Mind racing through memories, a family, a brother, secrets that felt like they could snap him in half. But then he felt it. A horrifying realization took root in his gut. "What do you mean?" he barked, looking at Tom, trying to make sense of something that was rapidly spiraling into chaos. "Your brother!" Tom's voice was urgent, almost pleading through the thick cloud of panic. "He and your father are connected through things that—" A loud bang interrupted Tom, the sound piercing through the frenetic atmosphere. Metal clanged on the floor. It was a gun, hitting the tiles with a hollow thud. The crowd shrieked, ducked, trying to escape, confusion exploding into utter chaos. Jonathan's heart pounded as he turned back to the woman, her distress pulling him closer. "What do you know?" he demanded. "You have to tell me now." And just then, she leaned in, her voice trembling. "The truth is, I'm your sister." The world spun. Every breath, each heartbeat stilled as past and present collided in a moment so profound it blurred the line between reality and shock. An unsteady silence held the room captive, leaving Jonathan grappled in the web of half-remembered truths and newfound lies. So many questions bubbled unformulated in his mind. The phone still buzzed in his pocket. Tom's voice echoed, but now another shade colored it. This wasn't just a game of secrets anymore. This was blood. No. Before he could process the storm of revelation, The distant sounds of sirens cut through the air, growing louder, rising like the tide. The restaurant's atmosphere shifted again, a crescendo of fear mixing with disbelief. Everyone stared at Jonathan, at Tom, at the woman, the sister he never knew. The question loomed high and heavy. What next? Would they drown in the secrets pooling around them, or rise from the chaos stronger? The night teetered on the edge of revelation. The night teetered on the edge of revelation. Jonathan's breath caught, words echoing through his mind. The woman, his sister, a stranger, stood there, trembling, her eyes wide with a fear that mirrored his own. "What do you mean you're my sister?" The sharpness in his voice betrayed his desperation, his world spiraling with disbelief. Marcus's breath hitched beside him, the room vibrating with tension, their audience frozen in shock. But just before she could reply, a sharp crash reverberated from the back of the restaurant, drawing every eye. The emergency exit had swung open, and in burst a figure, dressed in black, face obscured by a hood. Gasps erupted. The crowd recoiled. "Get down!" The figure barked, and adrenaline shot through Jonathan. His instincts kicked in. No time for family reunions. No time for explanations. "Move!" he shouted to Marcus. They both ducked instinctively, hearts racing, instinct driving them to navigate through chaos. But before they could escape, the figure fired a shot. The loud bang split the air like thunder. The crowd screamed. Panic erupted. Tables toppled as people scrambled, pressing against walls. Jonathan felt a sudden and overwhelming urge to protect the woman, to shield her from whatever storm was brewing. "Stay close!" he called back, his voice barely breaking through the din. The figure's voice still pierced through the noise. "No, I'm looking for him!" His heart pressed, recognition flashing through his mind. What did they want? His father? The brother that was supposed to be lost? But then, with a sudden rush of energy, the woman grabbed his arm, pulling him toward a side exit. "We need to go! Now!" He didn't hesitate. Together they moved, slicing through the chaos as adrenaline propelled them forward. "What's happening?" he shouted, searching her face for answers. "There's no time!" she cried, urgency thick in her voice. "Tom, he set this all in motion. You don't understand what's at stake." And just then, another loud crash sounded as the figure advanced, forcing Jonathan to glance back. For a fleeting moment, their eyes met. Their deep connection, the very resemblance that tied them together, now unmistakable, sending a jolt of realization through him. But before he could process that shock, everything changed. The figure pulled off their hood, dark hair cascading down, revealing a face Jonathan knew all too well. It was Emily, his former assistant, the one who had mysteriously disappeared, the very name that haunted him. "Emily!" he gasped, shock jolting through him. The memories flooded back. The laughter they had shared, the late nights, the dreams that had felt so alive. "Jonathan, I need to explain," she began, but panic clawed at her face. The urgency in her eyes was palpable. "I didn't want to be found. None of this is what you think." Beneath the chaos, panic gripped his throat. If she was back, then what happened with Emily, and why now? What had his family done this time? Questions swirled faster than he could formulate answers. Then a chilling sound came, a siren wailing in the distance, growing louder, closer, the room filled with fresh waves of chaos. And suddenly, he felt the weight of everything crushing down. Could it all have been orchestrated? Was the family entangled in deeper dangers? "Run!" he shouted, body moving instinctively. They dove out the side exit into the dark streets. But a sudden realization struck them like lightning. Marcus hadn't followed. He was still caught, still inside. Jonathan's heart raced as he turned back, fear mixing with dread weaving through his veins. "We can't leave him." "Jonathan!" Emily screamed, pulling him back. "We have to!" But before she could finish, the figure lunged, hand outstretched towards them. In that moment, Jonathan saw the glint of metal, a knife, glimmering under the streetlights. Everything shifted. Jonathan couldn't think. Everything spiraled into dark uncertainty. He felt something sharp in his chest, not from the blade, but from the weight of unanswered questions. Who really was he? Who were they all? Just as he grabbed Emily's arm to pull her toward safety, the world around him blurred. The ground beneath his feet gave way. The darkness spiraled, and all the secrets he thought he knew erupted forward, redefining the very fabric of family. What lay ahead lifted a new question, a harrowing truth that could shatter everything they held dear. He gripped her hand tight, tears blurring his vision. And then came the flash, a sudden light, illuminating shadows and intentions all at once, sending Jonathan into a dizzying fall toward the uncharted chaos waiting to swallow them whole. "Wait!" echoed behind him. But this time, there was no turning back. Jonathan stumbled back, his heart racing as chaos erupted around him. The figure, Emily, stood there, a mixture of desperation and fear on her face. "We have to move!" she shouted, glancing back toward the door, where the armed figure lingered in the shadows, tension thickening the air. "Why didn't you tell me you were alive?" Jonathan's voice cut through the noise, bewilderment flooding his thoughts. But he knew there was no time for answers. "I was trying to protect you," she yelled, grabbing his hand. "I didn't know who I could trust." With a surge of adrenaline, Jonathan and Emily dashed toward the back of the restaurant. But as they turned a corner, they collided with Marcus, who was fighting his way through the crowd, eyes wild with panic. "What's happening?" he panted, taking in the chaos surrounding them. Jonathan locked eyes with him. "We need to get out, now!" No, there's no escape this way," Emily insisted, urgency lacing her voice. "We're surrounded." Then came the voice from the shadows again, cold and commanding. "You can't run from your past, Jonathan." The figure stepped forward, hood falling away, revealing the face Jonathan thought he'd never see again. It was his brother, Tyler, a specter haunting the corners of his memory. "Tyler?" Jonathan's breath hitched, memories flooding back. Bitter nights, fractured trust. "You're alive?" "Of course I'm alive," Tyler spat, eyes filled with years of resentment. "But it's not about us anymore. It's about them." Suddenly, the restaurant door burst open with a deafening crash, and a squad of law enforcement officers flooded in, shouts piercing the air. "Everyone, freeze! Get down on the ground! People dropped to their knees. The chaos suddenly transformed into a well-orchestrated hunt. Emily gasped and pulled Jonathan closer to the wall. "They're here for you!" The weight of the world crashed into Jonathan as he faced it all. His brother, his family, his secrets. "I didn't ask for this. I'm trying to fix things." "Fix things?" Tyler laughed bitterly, stepping closer. "You don't even know the half of it, John. You think it's just about family? It's bigger than that. They want you both." Panic coursed through Jonathan as he realized what his brother meant. The tangled web of their past was about to ensnare Mark too. "We need to protect him," Jonathan said, shifting his focus. But before he could act, the figure of an officer appeared, gun raised, hands in the air. The tension snapped. "Get down!" Jonathan shouted, shoving Emily and Marcus behind him as chaos erupted. The sounds of shouting and screaming melded with the acute crackle of fear. "Jonathan! Emily! You don't want to do this!" a booming voice echoed, and then the shots rang out. Time seemed to halt. Jonathan felt a rush of instinct, the desire to protect surging within. Emily's scream pierced through the chaos as he pushed forward, filling the space with determination. "Stay down! I won't let anything happen!" Tyler's anger surged, fists clenched. "You're too late. They'll always find you." In that moment, Jonathan's heart sank. The web was tighter than he thought. This wasn't just a family matter. It was an entanglement of lives. And somewhere, someone was pulling the strings. As he looked back at the sister he never knew, the brother he couldn't let go, and the friend who stood by his side, a wave of sorrow washed over him. What was left? "Run!" Tyler screamed, pushing through the chaos. "You will never be free from this!" But Jonathan couldn't move. He wanted to fight the shadows closing in, but the pull of family crippling him. "You don't have to do this, Tyler!" Another shot fired, this time a warning. The tension exploded as the room erupted in chaos. "Now," Emily ordered, yanking Jonathan back toward an emergency exit. As they ran, Jonathan stole a last glance at his brother. The pain in his eyes carved deep lines of regret mixed with fierce loyalty. The truth twisted and turned, and Jonathan's pulse quickened as uncertainty gnawed at him. Could he ever escape? Would he ever be free from the chains of his past? They burst through the door and out into the night, the cool air hitting their faces like a splash of icy water. The sirens wailed, the city lights glimmered, but what lay ahead remained shadowed and unclear. A fork in the road, one path led to redemption, the other to revenge. Jonathan took a breath, gathering strength as the whirlwind of the night whispered promises of danger and uncertainty. Yet, as they moved forward, there was an undeniable hope, an ember of light in the darkness. But for how long? He didn't have the answers. Not yet. And as the three of them navigated the unknown, mingling pain and quiet resolve, the real battle coming loomed ahead, ready to unfold in unexpected ways. And as everything fell into shadow, Jonathan thought he detected a hint of light. A chance, an opening, waiting just for them. Whatever it was, something called to him. He couldn't ignore it, and neither should you. If you don't want to miss what happens next, you have to subscribe immediately to the channel. Don't let the next chapter slip away. Smash that like button now to fuel the algorithm and help this story reach those who need to hear it. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. What do you think will happen next? What secrets remain. And for true fans, your support is crucial. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see how this saga unfolds. Don't wait even a second longer. Let's dive deep into the mysteries just waiting to be unveiled.